All right. Hello, good people. Hope you're doing good. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. And I want to make a very short video and address something that I've been thinking about because one of the things I have to do on this YouTube channel is share my own opinions and thoughts about some of the global topics, village topics, any topic that I feel I can throw in some words and opinions about it. Now, recently there has been a lot of debate about Somalians or Somalis, and we've seen a very swift move by the United States of America President Donald Trump and his whip and crack on Somalis living in one of the states called Minnesota. Now, this video, however, is going to talk about one of the words that has been used. It's called assimilation. And let's think about it for a minute. Because when you think about the Somalis as a community, there's the positive and there's the negative. And I believe one of the reasons as to why there's a problem with Somalis in South Africa, a problem with Somalis in Kenya, and a problem with Somalis in United States of America is because they do not assimilate and the way they view themselves. Is it good or is it bad? So I have my own opinions about it, and that's what I'm going to talk about on this video. First is the good about the Somalis. You see, if people don't understand their identity, it becomes a little bit easier for other groups to pick up on them and beat them. So when it comes to the Somalis, these are a group of people, or rather, these are a community that understands their background, understands what they want, and they run for it. Somalis, being that most of them or all of them are Muslims, they are a group of people who have peculiar, or rather, very different cultural aspects from other groups of people. So, what that means is wherever they go, they carry with them their culture. And it becomes very difficult for them. It's a challenge for them to assimilate or to integrate with other people's culture. So, what ends up happening is there are going to be misunderstandings with other communities. But within themselves, they manage they manage to grow and outdo what other groups of people do not do. Once they work as a group, because Somalis is one of the communities that behaves like the Hasidic Jews. And you guys, you need to go and study about the Hasidic Jews and another group of people called the Amish and the Mennonites. Whether these people are united by religion or whatever thing, there's one thing that is so admirable about them. I'll still speak about the things that I do not admire about this group of people. But this one of the things that is admirable about these people is one, they look at things from a community perspective. They have that universal or communism aspect of looking at things. The individual's intentions, the individual's goals, the individual's mission and vision is not that important. What is more important is the collective goal as a community. Now, with the collective goal, it ensures that everybody in that community does not struggle when they're trying to do something. So, if we have a student who's graduated, for instance, with in the field of medicine, engineering, hospitality, whatever the field, and there's a person who had already made it and they're somewhere working in one of these fields. So what they do, it becomes very easy for them to pull somebody who belongs to their community and they bring up them here. So you will not find sons and daughters of the Somalis struggling to make it. Here in Kenya, Uh, most Somalis, most Somalis reside in Eastleigh. There's an estate called Eastleigh in Nairobi, and most Somalis they're more into business, and what they do is they do not like it's not like they compete against themselves. They compete against other communities. So for instance, let's assume I want to go and buy a cape in Italy, and the kind of a cape I want, I do not find it in Italy from this shop. So it's very easy for this guy to direct me to another shop that belongs to a Somali. Because what they want to do is that they want to ensure that if 1,000 comes to our community, this 1,000, whether it is USD or in Kenyan shillings, has to first of all go through more like 20, 30 people within the community. This 1,000 has to benefit about 20 people or more within our community before it leaves our community. And they have formed a system whereby when money comes to us, it first of all serves our needs. The only time this money is going to leave our community is when we need a service. And that's how these people are able to develop very strong capital systems so that even when there's a project that requires a lot of money, it's very easy for the community members to negotiate on the table because they have the financial muscles unlike other communities. And that's one of the most admirable thing about that community. That unity helps them to penetrate in places that any other person would not have penetrated. They even have people who negotiate on their behalf. Because if you have a Somali lawyer, you better be sure he's going to be used, he's a community product. He's not just a Somali pursuing his individual goals, that's a Somali product. And so, if a lawyer is needed, then that Somali is going to go to communicate on their behalf. Now, if you follow the news currently in the United States of America, there was a fraud that occurred in Minnesota, and not that I praise the fraud, but I mean, you have to appreciate the fact that these people are very smart. They come to the United States of America as refugees. They are welcomed, but they live as a community. They don't change anything in their culture. But the one thing they understand is that when money comes, we are going to use it. And how are we going to use it? They've been developing projects here in Kenya. It's true, by the way. If you go to places like Kilimani, we have high rise structures that are being built day in, day out. And you wonder where is this money coming from. Now it's apparent, it's clear where the money is coming from. But you have to appreciate and respect the fact that when these people get money, unlike other communities who think of, being flashy with bling blings, fashion, designer clothes, these people, you will always find them with your traditional attire. Maybe the only thing that maybe they can have flash is a watch and the shoes, but you'll always find them in the traditional attire. And here they are developing their businesses, which tells you once they get money, that money is first of all focused on developing themselves. Unlike other communities, that when we get money, the first thing we think about is going for drives that don't buying expensive cars and drives that don't even make sense. Women, sex, club, alcohol, all that nonsense. Now you have to appreciate the fact that Somalis being Muslims, Um, there are things they don't do. Alcohol is prohibited in their culture. Here in Kenya, alcohol is a big problem for all other communities, and especially the Mount Kenya communities. Alcohol is a huge, it's a massive problem. Now, with the Somalis, they don't take alcohol. Maybe they take cut, mira, but not all of them though. And then they have a system that governs their marriage. So, sexual misconduct is it's there in every community, but I tend to believe it's not as prevalent in their community as it is in other communities. So what happens is if a young man really needs to marry, it's very easy for that community because again, majority of them marry within themselves, unlike other communities who pretend to marry for love, which is not. It doesn't work like reality. Doesn't work like that. You don't marry for love. You marry for compatibility and future goals. My opinion. You marry for a purpose, not love. So these guys, they marry with a purpose, and one of the biggest purpose is to dominate. And thus we have these people like the Amish. There's something similar between the Somalis and the Amish. These people give birth. Their birth rates are very high. Same case with the Hasidic Jews in the United States of America, commonly found in New York. Their birth rates are very high. Why? Their goal is to dominate. And it's true. They can dominate, by the way. They can easily dominate because with the Somalis, I already explained, when money gets into their community, it's held to develop their community. So when you have the financial power, it's very easy to control. That's why we have superpowers. And we talk about superpowers because they have developed their defense, they have developed their finances, their healthcare systems, and all other systems. So it's very easy for them to influence the world economically and in all other aspects. So that's the goal of the Somalis. They want to dominate. And that's where the problem with the Somalis comes in. Because the initial goal, the initial reason as to why they left their countries was because there was a conflict in Somalia. There was an internal conflict. There was a civil war in Somalia. And so what happened, they had to flee their country, go to other countries where they are welcomed, and they start living. So unfortunately, instead of them going to those countries and integrating with other communities to become fully members of that country, they do not assimilate. They separate themselves. When you hear about Somalis, these people are African, first of all, but they don't identify as Africans. In America, if you're black, it's very easy to be called an African American. It doesn't matter whether you're Haitian, Dominican, from Africa, from even UK, or even Europe, as long as you're black. The first thing that comes to another person looking at you is that you're African American. Could be right, could be wrong, but look at the Somalis. Look also at the Ethiopians, some of them. They do not identify as Africans. They also, when they go to those countries, they also do not identify themselves as African Americans or Black Americans. They identify themselves as Somalis. So even now, when they are being fought, even now that they're having that crisis, it's very difficult for a black person to come into their defense because they have separated themselves apart. They want to be referred as to Somalis. Now, when you separate yourself apart, you lose a ground where other people can be enticed to come and defend you too. When that fraud was happening, whom did it benefit? It only benefited the Somalis. It did not benefit the whole of Africa. It did not benefit other communities. It only benefited the Somalis. So, which means then the only people who should be defending them are the Somalis. And as a young person from this side of the world, I would have been enticed or pressured to defend these black people who look like me. But now I can't because when you people are benefiting, because that's a lot of money, it benefited you as a community. So the people who are benefiting should be the only ones who are fighting the oppressive system they think it's oppressive. And for a person like Trump, whether you like him or you hate him, he could be a racist, he could not be, but you have to love the fact that he loves his country. He wants to defend his country. Well, if it's about race, he wants to defend his race. He has identified a threat. And because he's the one in power, he has addressed it. Think about Ilhan Omar. She was speaking on behalf of the Somalis. She's looking at her people. Trump is looking at the interest of his people. Ilhan is looking at the interest of her people. Now, I don't care what goes on with the Somalis. I don't care what goes on with Trump and America. I only learn from the two that I should be focused on my interest and there's a need for community. By the way, if you think about the other two groups that I mentioned, the Hasidic Jews and the Amish people, the Amish and the Hasidic, these people are just secretive. They operate in secret. Of course, there's the bad side to every story, but you cannot ignore the fact that these people, the way they operate as a unit, the way they operate as a community, the way they disregard some of the cultural aspects and their conservativeness is working for their own benefit. It's really benefiting them. These people, they grow and they have money. And with money comes power, whether you like it or not. This world, money is power. You don't have money, you don't have power. You have money, you got influence. You can negotiate for changes, even in parliament, so that some of the policies that are going to be passed, they work in your favor to the disadvantage of other communities that don't care about uniting. But once you unite as a community, it works easy for you. So if there are lessons that we can learn from the Somalis is that community is very, very important. And sometimes you have to work towards the interest of the community and not towards the interest of an individual. And then, apart from that, there's also a disadvantage to that. Because once you separate yourselves from other people, people are always going to see you as separate. So even when you have some challenges, don't expect people to come and back you up. You have to handle those challenges by yourselves. So on these ones, Somalis really did themselves a disservice. They shoved that finger on themselves. So anyway, guys, welcome to my YouTube channel, and I hope you'll keep on subscribing, watching, commenting, and anything else that is important to do. Other than that, I'm wishing you a lovely, lovely day. Today's on a Sunday here in Africa. All the best, and we'll catch up later with another one. Cheers.